All right, look, bows and bow ties, my fellow travelers. So, look, I want to talk about one of a bucket list item that we had, my husband and I had. So, back in 2022, my husband and I were talking about taking a unique vacation we had never taken before, something different, right? And so, my husband said, why don't we try to go to a private island? Now we've been on private islands like via like a cruise or something where they drop you off and you spend the day there and stuff like that. But my husband was like, we should try a private island. So let me tell you, we did. Why do I have a pen in my hand? Okay, I can still hold it, right? I can hold the pen, right? Anyway, so look, my husband came up with this great idea. He was like, look, I was looking into some things. Let me bring this in closer. Okay, can you guys see me okay? So my husband was like, let's try something different. So what he came up with, and I agreed after we did some researching, was he was like, let's try a private island and let's go to Belize. We're going to go to a private island off of um, the Belize mainland. So I was like, okay, all right, okay, it's different, all right. I didn't know anything about Belize other than that it was south of me, that it was considered Central America. Actually, I wasn't sure if it was considered Central America or still part of North America. Anyway, so I was like, I don't know a whole lot about Belize. So I'm looking it up and I looked up this private island that he sent me and we had settled on Kanu. 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 Let me tell you, I highly recommend it. Now, this was probably one of the most expensive things we had done. I mean, let me tell you, we were breaking open the piggy bank and all. This was a piggy bank breaking open situation. Okay. And I know that many people probably will not be able to do this type of thing, right? But this was like a bucket list. So we were willing to splurge on this opportunity. I just want to say for the record, this is not something that we can do on the regular because this is very expensive, at least based off of our budget. For the rest of you, this might be something you guys do all the time. But let me just say this. I highly recommend it. I'm talking 5 stars all across. Like, I can't say enough. Like, I literally cannot say enough. Sorry, my head is itching. All right, so look, let's start off with how we got there. Um, all right. So one of the things we did was we knew that we were going to have to take multiple flights, and the reason why is because we live on the East Coast, and because we live on the East Coast, there was no, at least not at the time when we were booking, there was no direct flight to where we wanted to, at least not to even get to Belize. Okay, so what we had to do was we actually took an American Airlines flight. There are other flights that can get you where you need to go, but we ended up on an American Airlines flight. We flew, we flew from where we live. We live in Maryland. We flew into Dallas Fort Worth. We flew into DFW in Texas. From Texas, we flew into, now I have the notes here. I believe it was called the Philip S.W. Goldson International Airport. Basically, we flew into Belize. We flew into I think it's the only international airport into Belize, right? Belize City, basically. So we flew into Belize. After we did the whole customs thing, and believe it or not, the customs thing, I thought because this is like a smaller country that there might be, a situation. It was pretty easy. There was no fanfare. It was just kind of like, I don't remember. Did we have to fill in something else? I think we had to do we have to get insurance for something? I cannot remember if we needed to get insurance for something or an extra visa or whatever. I should have researched this, but I literally don't remember because I think my husband planned that portion of it. So I don't remember. But after going through customs and everything, right? Because we went through, I think it was called privateisland.com. I can't remember who we went through because my husband planned it. They had people at the airport waiting for us, right? So once we were done, they were like, hey, are you the so family? And they took us over to where we needed to go next. This was actually pretty seamless. I have no complaints with how we were handled. So we come through customs, which was pretty easy. And then the people who were managing us, our flights and everything, they took us over to another counter where we had to get a domestic ticket, which was already paid for. But They had to print it out or whatever it was. So we get our domestic ticket. Let me just say, and we were traveling with another family. We invited a family to come hang out with us. So, but it was still like, I think they beat us there by like 20 minutes. Okay. We get our tickets. They take us to an area where we had to wait. It wasn't like a long wait, maybe like a half hour. I don't really remember. And so we were walked to the area where we needed to be, and we had to take another flight. Now, full disclosure, when I give you my opinion, I'm high maintenance when it comes to these small flights because I don't like small small planes. I don't like boats that actually move on water. Any rocking, I'm like, mm. So people are probably wondering, how does she take cruises? Look, I'm on 24/7 Dramamine for cruises. So nevertheless, they take us to this place. I mean, they take us to the area where we had to catch another flight now, because now that we're mainland, I mean, we're in country. Now we have to get to our destination. So we take this small flight. By the way, let me just say shout out to the pilots on, I cannot remember who this airline was. This little small flight. It holds about maybe 20 people or something like that. My son was such a big fan of this small like plane, right? Because he loves to fly planes, like simulations. So we have like a whole thing for him. So the everything, the whole 9 yards. Like, so he was in heaven, and the pilots were so awesome. Awesome. They let him come up, they let him sit up there, they let him just do things. And so like the pilots were like super amazing. So shout out to the pilots. Anyway, so after doing all that, we take our flight to was it Placencia? I believe it was called Placencia, the area of Placencia, Belize or whatever. So now we take our 20 or 30 minutes, probably like 20, 25 minutes. I can't remember. Now, let me just say this. Small flights. Okay, so what is going on with my printer? My printer is printing. I hope somebody did not send anything to my printer. Ignore what's happening in the background here. So look, my printer is printing. Anyway, never you mind. So we flew to Placencia, and en route, so I'm looking above. I see the clouds. I see like the mainland. I'm seeing islands. I'm seeing like, I guess it's like marsh. I'm seeing all this other stuff. And I am like, this is spectacular. But I'm also white knuckling it. I am white knuckling it because I'm like, and even bumping the plane. I'm like, oh my goodness, we're going down. But the pilots are like, don't worry about it, because they're chill the entire time. My husband's looking at me like, are you okay? Like, do you need something? Because this is a white knuckling situation. But nevertheless, while I was experiencing extreme fear, I was also looking at just, I don't know, I was just amazed at the mainland and the not mainland and everything. So it was just really like a really cool experience to take this small charter flight to Placencia. Now, once we arrive at Placencia, we had to take a speedboat or some sort of like boat to the island, right? Because when I say it's a private island, it's literally in the middle of the ocean. So I was thinking like, is this what's really happening? So at this point, I am second guessing Kanu. And I'm like, what does my husband have me doing? I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like stressed out. I'm talking about, like deodorant was kicking in. I felt like my underarms were moist and all. So we get on this boat, which we all enjoyed, right? And I don't like boats per se because I don't, like all the no, but this speedboat, let me tell you something. I was like, this is amazing. This is amazing. So we get on the boat and I can feel like the wind is blowing. I would say through my hair, but it was my braids. The wind is blowing and you can feel a little bit of the mist and everything, and the sun is beating down, and it hit me like, we are really doing this. Like, we broke open the piggy bank and counted up all 3 pennies to have this experience with our kids and some friends. So now we're en route to the island. Now, what I failed to mention earlier was when we booked this opportunity, this lifetime bucket list thing, they ask us in advance, like, what are the things you like? What do you want? What do you eat? What do you snack on? All these things, because we are out there in the middle of the ocean, okay? Out there. And they made sure upon arrival, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. They have everything. When you put in your request, oh, they get that. So now we are pulling up to this private island. Let me just say this. The pictures that you see online, and all of you go look it up, Kanu, okay? I'm telling you right now, the pictures online doesn't really do it justice. Usually the pictures online look better, right? And the pictures online are amazing. But when we pulled up, as we, we're coming in all like we're flying through, and the hair is just, well, for me, braids, but we're like all extra, right? When we come in and we are gunning it, and as we're coming into the island, they slow it down, and then it's almost like we skid around the island, like we're doing like an aerial shot, because we're like looking like, because we're like, wow. And so we're going around the private island, right? Now, as we had been approaching this private island, we see these other private islands, obviously, that they hold smaller groupings of people, and they looked amazing. So we come around the island, and then when we pull up, right? So now they bring us to an area, it's almost like a docking area, and we're like, this is incredible. They have people waiting to greet us. Okay. So now they're coming out and they're greeting us, and it looks like paradise in the middle of the ocean. And so we're like, holy cow, like this is happening. And like even my kids, like everybody, we were all like, just thank you God for this opportunity. Just thank you so much. Like just like, like when you're just so like overcome, because it was so amazing. So we arrive, we get off and docking or stuff like that, and you can see, like, if you look down at the beautiful water, and you can see like maybe like a stingray on the outside, I was like, oh my gosh, like it was like amazing, and we get out, and then they greet us, like when you go to the Caribbean or whatever, right? You have like, they come out with like a tray of drinks and everything like that. Now let me just stop right here, because I was thinking when we were going to Belize, I knew that the people would be more brown people, but I did not expect, because I didn't do enough research, I wanted to be pleasantly surprised. Like I was looking at activities, not like the people, right? There was a lot of Black people, and these Black people were just so gorgeous, because like, you guys, have you ever seen somebody who was like chocolate colored, like brown skin, like darker skin, but their hair is jet black? So I was looking at the men, this sounds creepy, but I was looking at the men, and like just how jet black and maybe curly, or not curly, but they were like Black people, but like it was just like the contrast, it was just so gorgeous. I was like, yes, not even like a sexual way, because this is okay, so I'm clearly just like falling all over myself here in this video, but it was just like, I was just looking at the people, like these are some beautiful people. Like, I'm like, oh my goodness, I should go and like snip some hair and put it in like a little vial and send it off to clone them or something, right? Like I need to see what is in this DNA. It was just like the skin was just pretty. Anyway, so we get there, the staff is like, and they're like wishing me happy birthday, because it was around my birthday. So they had a cake ready. They had water bottles for all of us with our names and stuff on it, with the Kanu or whatever, like island promotional stuff. They had all kinds of stuff. Like, so when we arrived, not only did they have like drinks and stuff like that, and they even had non-alcoholic drinks for the kids, right? So they had same glasses and everything, but they're like, and these are for you. So they were feeling like, okay. And then they had like a birthday cake, and they had like snacks, and it was decorated, and it was just so cute. And we were just like, And I felt like $1 million. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. This is like a total sidebar, and it's like, it's going to sound like all sad, like cue the sad music. So usually August is when I have a birthday in August, and one of my sons has a birthday in August. We usually we usually are like, we're the last ones in our immediate family and our nuclear family to really have any sort of celebration. So usually I'm like last. I'm like, oh yeah. So it was kind of nice that for once, like, we arrived someplace and it was like they celebrated me, and I was like, I was like, okay, all right. So anyway, it was cool. So now we get here on this island, which is like paradise. It has Wi-Fi and all. And it's like we're walking around and we're like children, right? We're like, wow, wow. We walk around and we see everything, and we see like this infinity pool. We're like, there's an infinity pool in the middle of paradise. There's off to the side, there's like staff, they have their own quarters and everything. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, when we arrived, on Kanu, the island of Kanu, the island has 2 dogs. Okay. These 2 dogs are the super dopest dogs ever, because whatever you do, these dogs are doing. The dogs are awesome. So they're like a nice touch to the island. And they actually tell people in advance, like, hey, we have 2 island dogs. And the dogs get to leave the island and everything too. But they were like, is that okay? And so they always check in with everybody. And we're like, sure. The dogs were dogging. Like, the dogs were everything. These dogs were super everything. It has like this infinity pool. They have this whole bar in the middle of this common area where we all eat and stuff like that. And you can make your own drinks, or they make them for you, because there's staff that's always milling around. But they kind of like, because they wanted to make sure, they were like, whatever you want. If you want to make your own drinks, you can make your own drinks. If you want us to make it, you can make. So it's like whatever you wanted, right? They were like, they wanted to figure out what everybody's battle rhythm was, because there were times when you might just be on this off time and like, I think I want like a daiquiri. I don't know. So yeah. Anyway, so that's that. So now we're looking around the island. They got kayaks and stuff out there, or what if you want to do that. They've got hammocks. They've got a table that's like in the water, because it's a little bit of like wave water or beach or ocean water comes in, where it's like if you're walking in water, it's like ankle high or whatever, except if there's higher tide, it might be like knee high, but that you can sit out there and eat. Like, there's so much. It was like they have a volleyball net, which we didn't really use. There's sand and all kinds of stuff. Now, the island itself has like these 5 villas, and each villa, I think 3 of them, if I remember correctly, can fit 4 people, I think. Because they had like 2 queen or king beds in there, and each of the villas had like their own television, and they had these bathrooms that were like normal bathrooms, but part of it opened up to the island, but it was so secluded because there's like trees and everything, so you can shower. And like, what do you call those, like really nice shower, when the water just falls out of that really big shower head thing, and it's almost like showering outside, but you have like full privacy. But you can also, if there's somebody out, you can also talk to them, but they can't see you, hear you. It was like really spectacular. My villa had all of that and more, because it was like upstairs, and obviously I had one of the main villas, because, well, it's all about us. So, but it was so nice. And the villas were air conditioned, and they had ceiling fans, and they had televisions, and we had Wi-Fi and cable, everything. It was like, what? This is like true paradise. And everybody opened up to a unique view, because we're on this round island, so everybody had a different view of the ocean. Yeah, it was like everything. So then, let me see, what else? Did I leave anything off my list? Let me see. Hold on a second. Okay, so the time difference from the East Coast, which was kind of like interesting. I think it was Central Time. No, what was it? Let me see. Yeah, it was Central Standard Time. So it was about an hour off, which was fine. It was not that big of a deal, because it wasn't like we were concerned about the time or anything like that. We originally had planned to take an excursion when we were there, and we never did the excursion because the day that we had settled on and paid for, it was rained out, and they were saying that it's better not to do it during that rain or whatever it was that was going on. So the weather didn't like line up, so they just wound up giving us a refund. But we were gonna do like zip lining. There's like several things we were gonna do, but because the weather wasn't, cooperating, it was better not to do it. But outside of that, so like our kids had a good time, just water play, no play, every kind of play. There's fish everywhere. Sometimes we would all just go sit at the dock. And if you had something like, you could just see the fish and the stingray just come up. And, I was like, Jaws, like, and I don't care if that fish was this big. I was like, Jaws is coming to get me, Jaws. Oh my goodness, Jaws. So, let me see. Oh, why is my hair all over the place? All right, let's see. All right. Anyway, so after that, let me think. Yeah, so what the kids were able to do, or everybody really, most of the people just wanted to get on a boat every day. Some people wanted to go fishing. Like for some reasons, like a lot of people wanted to go fishing. I wasn't about that life. I just wanted to lie around, do nothing. I was a full-on just lazy person. I wanted nothing. I just wanted to sit there and marinate. I would just relax. I would try to take a nap or not take a nap. I would just catch up on nothing and everything. Maybe watch TV, maybe watch a video. I didn't want to do anything. And that the fish that they caught, this was on top of everything that they served us, by the way, because the food was delish. They would just take that fish because there was so much of it. We couldn't even use it all, right? Like they would make fresh ceviche every day. And, my greedy self was getting it in. I didn't even fish. And I was like, yes, ceviche. So we had ceviche every day, which was nice. And I asked the staff, I said, well, what do you guys do with all this extra fish? They were like, we just save it because we eat it all the time. So then one of the things I noticed too was, I was like, you guys have a helicopter pad out here. And they were like, yeah, there's a lot of people who just like to fly in. So the super wealthy, when they take it up a notch, they fly in by helicopter. Us regular who to break open the piggy bank, we come in by speedboat. Other people, they fly in, honey. So they have a helicopter pad, and also, I guess, in case of an emergency, if you need to like be evacuated or something. But the island was pretty big. So now, after that, there's so much I can say about it, but yeah, the kids would do that. So then everyone was like, let's just go snorkeling since we couldn't do our excursion. And
We just finished coming back from scuba diving. No, snorkeling, I'm sorry. And I just didn't like the thing on my face, so I just floated. Float on. We should be meeting up shortly, but yeah, I'm glad everybody else had a really great time.
I'm not big into water play, but I was like, okay. So the guy who did all of that, he took us out and anchored in the middle of the ocean. Of course, I'm like thinking like Titanic, even though it was just like a regular speedboat type thing. But in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, every night in my dreams, I see you, I feel you. That's all I could think of. I was like, Titanic. And then, everybody else was like, but nevertheless, we anchored. And the reason why I was thinking about all of this was this guy. So while everybody else was snorkeling and they're loving life, and I'm stressed out because I'm like, we're all off of this boat. Who's gonna get us back on the boat? What happens if the things, because you see stuff on like YouTube when people are out in the middle of the water and then something happens and you can't get back on the boat because you can't reach it and now nobody sees us. And when we went snorkeling, it was not dusk, but it wasn't like high noon. It was more like 5 or 6 o'clock in August, September. It was August at that time. We were going into September. And I was like, what if we can't get back on this boat? So then I was like, okay. So nevertheless, while they were snorkeling and looking at the life, and they're like, watch out for the red algae. And I don't like looking underwater because it gives me vertigo. So they were like, you're just going to go swim through all this stuff and you might get stung. I never got stung. Nevertheless, he would like dive down and pick up like this starfish and all kinds of like creatures. I mean, it probably was just a regular starfish and whatever it was, but in my mind, it was an alien, and he would go pick up more aliens from out of the sea, and he would dive down. Seriously, like, so one of the family members is a lady. She was like looking underwater to see how far he was going, and he would be under there for like 30 seconds to like almost a minute, right? And she was like, yeah, he's going down pretty far, and I'm not in that good of a shape to dive down that far. So I was asking him, how far did you go down? He's like, I have gone down about 30 feet, but he was going down about like 20 feet, and he was see all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, I can't even see you down there. He's like, I know, but he's like, I've been doing this for so long. I'm like, this is stressful because like you can't go down there for that long and think that I'm going to come rescue you. I can get you about an inch. Then I'm glubbing it up. I technically know how to swim, but I don't know how to swim like swim. I'm not a good swimmer. So while we were out there in that ocean, I had on a life jacket because I'm just not a good swimmer. Like, I can save myself, but not for long. So I was so paranoid. I made all my kids wear these life jackets. I'm like, you're going to put these life jackets on, these vests on. They're like, well, we can't go there. I'm like, you're not just going to go that deep. And so I basically ruined it for everybody. But he would go dive down deep and pick up several aliens. And then I was like, look, cat, like, you're getting too close to me with that alien, right? It was really just a starfish or a jellyfish or whatever you call it. I think it was a jellyfish. All kinds of things he was picking up, like all kinds of things. And I wish I had my camera, but at the time I didn't know he was going to do this, right? And he would come close. I'm like, get away from me, get away from me. And he was like totally trolling me. And I was telling him that like when he gets back on the island, when we get back there, that I got beef with him. But anyway, he would pick up like all these aliens and then he would just toss them. It was just like, I was like, yo, because, you know, he respects water. I mean, animals and land, stuff like that. But he was like showing us all these things that we could marvel over. So we did the whole snorkeling thing. Everybody enjoyed it. And then I think once I knew that one or two people were back on the boat, then I felt safer, because if we're all off the boat, what happens if something happens? I'm telling you, I've seen enough YouTube videos when like if everybody's off the boat and then there's nobody on the boat, like the movie things, now nobody can get on the boat. So we got back on the boat, we did that. But there was so much that we did there. Like, I'm not even doing it justice, but I'm just kind of like recounting some of the experiences that we had. The cuisine was great. They would cook for us and serve us every night. And if you didn't like something, they had something else just in case. They had plenty, you know. But the food was so rich. Like, you're thinking you can eat all this food and you're just like, I can't eat all this food. But for those who could eat more, there was so much extra that you can eat it and they still have stuff left over. And I think even the staff couldn't eat that much food, because remember, we had all of our comfort food and snacks too. Yeah. Anyway, let me see what else was on here. Staff was so nice. We chatted so much. They were amazing. Like, they tried to be out of sight, which we didn't mind when they were around at all, because it was nice to talk to them and living on the island and doing all these wonderful things. And they were so cool, and they were kind of funny because, and it's funny because like the staff was like Latina, but also, well, actually, let me rephrase that. They were Black and, I don't want to say Spanish, whatever. But, you know, we had two different ethnicities, and they all spoke Spanish and English, stuff like that. But it was just like really so cool. Like, just, I'm like, so what is it like living on an island? And they have rotations too. Like, after a certain amount of time, you go back mainland. Maybe you have things going on at home. Maybe you're doing some school stuff. I don't know, baby in the house. Like, there was one lady who was in our staff. She was married to one of the guys. They were building a home. And after that year, I think they had maybe one more year, they were going to stop working on the island and enjoying their home on the mainland. And they were going to start a business. I forgot what business, but just listening to them and talking to them, like, you were learning so much, like, just so much understanding, like, their lives and stuff like that, and how people made money and stuff like that. I was just like all in. I was like a straight up groupie, like, yeah. So like they were telling us of like how other groups, when they come in, like some people come in multiple times a year, because this is like one of the places they like to hide out, because it was secluded. You can and it was beautiful, and you get served, and you can still stay connected to the world or not, because we have Wi-Fi and everything. I'm like out here in the middle of nowhere. It was just really an amazing experience. It was an amazing experience. I don't even like. I'm not even doing it justice. I don't know. All I can say was it was really quite charming. Apparently, they have people who come out there quite often. Um, the, and you can do as much as you want or as little as you want. Like, there's so many different things they can do, whatever. I just wanted to chill. I would just enjoy the sun and not enjoy the sun because it was still hot, but then we were still in the middle of the ocean. Just looking at the marine life, like it, you know, I can't say enough about the island of Kanu. I can't say enough about the staff. They were so friendly and attentive, but we didn't really need that much because we were good. Like all of our meals were taken care of. They had the snacks that were out. They had the alcohol that was out. We we had so much of every, like we didn't really want for anything. Every once in a while, I think what was it? I think once I just wanted a set of new towels. Oh, real quick. So when you get there, so we had like they offered up to 4 massages a day. Okay. And nobody was really taking them. So I would just take 2 at a time. I'm like, I'll take back to back massages. So I enjoyed the massages. Like most people are like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, what? Okay. I would just go schedule my massage. And I would just sit there and let them just work out the kinks. Like it was just so cool. It was so cool. I just look, I recommend the Canoe Private Island. Um, yeah, I had a wonderful experience. My kids absolutely loved it. I know there are plenty of things that I'm leaving off because I just did not capture all of my notes well, but I think you guys get the gist of it. It was beautiful. It was almost like unreal. I was like, this is something that you see on television, right? Like it was just so beautiful. And you can be as connected or not as connected as you want. I sometimes would just sit out there on the dock and just look out at the water and listen to the water, or you would see the fish and the stingray and Jaws or whatever, come around. Like, but it was so beautiful, like if you're in the water, the fish and stuff aren't coming up to you. But obviously by the pier or whatever you want to, the dock or whatever, you're thinking it's only 2 or 3 feet. And obviously it's much deeper than that. But it was just so beautiful. The people were so friendly. The food was amazing. It was fresh. They would get in there, cook, and do their thing. Like their kitchen in the main area where we, like the common area, it was just like probably like it was just amazing. I was like, this is the kitchen? Holy cow. Um, you know, we just had everything we want. Like there was nothing we really wanted or needed. And I found that while we were there, we had as much privacy as we wanted, or we can be as social as we wanted. And the island was big enough that you can have privacy. And it was small enough that you weren't really going to get lost. Now at night it got dark. Now the areas where we had the villas obviously were well lit and everything like that. You might see a gecko or something running across your way, but yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, holy cow, like this was amazing. So anyway, check out Canoe. Check out the island of Canoe off of the coast of Belize. And that's pretty much it. Next, you'll probably hear from me, or I'm going to talk about my experience in the mainland of Belize, because after we left the island of Canoe, we wanted to see what the actual mainland of Belize was like. So stay tuned for that next video. All right, that's all I have for now. Happy travels.